Hello, everybody, and welcome back to HVAC Shop Talk for the comment session. Hope everybody is doing well out there this evening. I got to do one in the evening again. Hello to Treetail, Clint Glasgow, and Steve. I want to remind all of you guys, if you haven't seen it already, we do have a giveaway going on this channel until Friday night. We're going to be giving away a whole lot of Refrigeration Technologies products. So just make sure that you get in on that giveaway. It's the video release. I think it was either yesterday, probably yesterday or the day before. So if you look back, you should be able to find it. So I hope everybody is doing well tonight. Just have a few questions out there tonight, and then we can have some other conversations. I have all my stuff out here. Coyer Shire, what's up, bro? What's happening? I'm going to turn on my banners just in case I need one. I don't think there's any banners we need tonight unless we need to know cooling capacity, 4.5 times CFM times delta H. That's left over from last week's interview with Justin Beaver and David Richardson. We also have a sensible heat formula for you guys, CFM times delta T times 1.08. So if you want to ask any questions about those two things, we can do that tonight. And again, I'll just remind you guys, because David was on there and I still have the banner up, National Comfort Institute offers some great training. A lot of smart guys there. David Richardson was on the show last week on HVAC training videos. Stay tuned next week to hear the podcast version of that on HVAC Shop Talk. Also, we're going to get David Holt, who is also from National Comfort Institute, on the show on the 5th. Let me double check that here. Let me look at the calendar. I want to say it's the 5th of March. And yes, it should be the 5th of March at 8 p.m. The next few weeks, we should have on the 19th, Jamie Kitchen from Danfoss. On the 26th, Don Gillis from Emerson. And then David Holt after that on the 5th. I always think about Doug. Oh, Doug. I don't know if he's here or not. And then after that, it gets a little bit murkier because I don't really go out that far because people cancel and things change and stuff like that. We're trying to get a man named Jenry Garcia to come on the show. Andy Holt's going to return. If you have any suggestions for people that I haven't gotten yet, I try to branch out and get new people. That's why we have Don Gillis. We have Jamie Kitchen. We're going to get David Holt. So we're going to make sure we get other people in here besides the same old folks over and over again, which are really smart. But I like to, rotate new guys in here and build like a bigger community of people that can help educate you guys. So I think that's always important to do. What's up, Shannon Knight? And what's up, Josh Hogan? Shannon says, I like products named after killer poisonous snakes. That's awesome. I don't know if that's a criteria for picking a really good product, is to pick one that is like an intimidating animal. But Viper Products, which is Refrigeration Technologies, is pretty good. And we should probably do that. We should probably plug them in this particular episode. It makes a lot of sense. We could plug them for our little commercial break. I have four or five little comments here. We can have some other random discussions. We have testing defrost. There's a question about that. We have just a declarative sentence on my field piece SRL8 versus SRL2. I think that is SRL8. There's SLR, SRL. It's really confusing, but the two field piece leak detectors, there's a declarative sentence about that. There's a critique of my video, maybe a negative critique for my smart probe open air test I did between the UEI Hub 6 versus the Testo Generation 2 smart probes versus the field piece probes. And then we have a question coming from last week's show as well. And then I have a little job I'm going to do, which I can discuss as well. So we're going to have a little bit of fun tonight. I also have, let's scare everybody off. I'm just kidding. I have my Bible out because I always refer to my Bible now. My Bible. I'm a big Bible guy. For those of you who have been following me over the last 3 or 4 months, my life has been heavily invested into this manuscript right here, which you may or may not be heavily invested yourself. But it's something that is guiding most of my actions now. And I feel like it can guide you for the better. And I won't get into a whole lot of stuff like that. We do a show on Sunday night about Bible stuff. So if you're curious about that, Men with Issues is on Sunday night. But there's also some really good stuff that comes from the Bible about work, even HVAC. Like I like this part from 1 Peter here. It's in the New Testament. It's submission to authority. And you go to verse 18. So that's 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 18. And it says, servants, be subject to your masters with all respect, not only to the good and gentle, but also to the unjust. For this is a gracious thing when mindful of God, one endures sorrows while suffering unjustly. Now, that's one of them things like, I don't want to suffer unjustly ever. But basically kind of breaking it down, act with class even with a boss that's a jerk or coworkers that are jerks. Try to keep yourself classy. Don't stoop to their level if they're being unrealistically, hate to use a, we're not going to use any bad words, but if they're just being unfair, they're being nasty, don't make that what you're doing. And that'll be a benefit for you out there in the workplace. I think it will be. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to do refrigeration technologies here because we were talking about them as far as the giveaway, which I hope you guys all take part in. And we'll come back and we'll answer some of these questions. Refrigeration technologies make some of the best HVAC chemicals around, and that includes wet rag heat blocking putty that prevents your vital system components from being damaged while you're brazing. Also, there's Nylog, gasket and thread sealant, a variety of uses including sealing up flares, gaskets, and other HVAC joints and connections. Last but not least, there's Viper aerosol cleaner. I use it on evaporator coils. It foams up beautifully, does a great job cleaning. So if you need anything in the HVAC chemical arena, choose Refrigeration Technologies. You can find out more at refridgetech.com and purchase at truetechtools.com. Okay, guys, let's get right after the defrost question. So testing defrost. I had a video where I was explaining defrost. I want to say it was like a BDP carrier style, maybe carrier, I should say, carrier Bryant Payne style unit. And what I did was I had the sensor jumped out. These have like, let's see if I can describe this properly. They have a sensor that closes when the temperature goes down below a certain point, maybe 35 or 40 degrees. So what I did was I jumped out that sensor so it would believe it's cold outside. Then I sped up the timer. There's little prongs on boards where you can short those prongs out. It'll speed up the defrost timer, and it caused it to go into defrost. That's basically what the video was about. So it says, so if you do that, but doesn't it go to defrost mode, it would be a bad sensor or a bad board. Let me read that again because it sounded like a little jumbled up there. So if you do that, but it doesn't go into defrost mode, it would be a bad defrost sensor or a bad board. And it could be a bad, if it doesn't go into defrost. If it doesn't go into defrost, more than likely that would be a bad board, a bad timer, because you're taking the defrost sensor or thermostat out of the equation. So that would more than likely be a bad board. I've seen a lot of times because Train has forced defrost pins and they'll go bad sometimes. And sometimes it'll work intermittently. There's a whole lot of issues that can go on with defrost. There's even some where it will still defrost decently, but it won't act according to plan. Like I had one Train unit that would do everything except it wouldn't shut the outdoor fan off. And it shuts the outdoor fan off to raise the head pressure in the, what is the evaporator, but typically in cooling, it's the condenser, the outdoor coil. And if it doesn't shut the fan off, the head pressure doesn't go up. It doesn't melt that ice nearly as fast. Now, a lot of times it will still melt the ice because it's in air conditioning mode. It'll just take a whole lot longer. Sometimes defrost will time out. It just doesn't work as well. So that's one of the reasons you kind of need to understand how the defrost works and be able to spot some of these things. Sometimes the unit shuts off, like we talked about smart shift defrost, where you'll have the unit actually shut off before the compressor re-engages in cooling and the reversing valve shifts or it shifts and there's a lull period right there. I know Goodman does that. I want to say it's called smart shift, but there's just all sort of different idiosyncrasies that can appear in these units. But overall, it's going to behave the same. It's going to shift the reversing valve to cooling. The heat strips are going to come on if they're wired in, if you have heat strips. It's going to run with the fan off until it melts the ice and the temperature rises in the coil to a certain amount. Then it's going to terminate. So let's see here. And Shannon has some stuff. It says snap disc. That's the thermostat that type. And let's say it's going to flex at a certain temperature, a certain way. It's a lot like a bimetal switch, how they have like bimetal switches. Whenever a current flows through them, like a sequencer, it'll flex. A little ceramic push rod engages the relay. So snap disc for the win. And Shannon also agrees, says bad board. I'm glad to see if Shannon agrees with me, I know I'm right about something. That's exactly what that's what I figured. All right, and here's Corey Sayer. Let's go ahead and look at this comment. It says check pressure when it's in defrost. Had one the other day that had a faulty cooling TXV, not feeding hardly any refrigerant, therefore no head pressure. So that's interesting. So if you have some other issues in other parts of the system, absolutely. Let's think about this. If you had a cooling piston that was way oversized, you might have an extra low head pressure, might cause defrost to be a lot longer. So you might have a few things to check there, but hopefully those things don't happen like that because you should have the proper piston in, but everybody knows how it works in real life. Sometimes you don't have the proper piston or you have a bad TXV or something. And Shannon says train quiet shift was the best. I've seen some trains that are so quiet they're not even running. I don't know. They're all like that though. In fact, today I was looking at a job, which I don't typically do. A lot of times I'm out of the field for the most part, but every now and then I'll have a job present itself. So it was interesting getting back there and checking it out, and I'll explain that a little bit later. Okay. Next question. Go to the other screen. Says declarative sentence. Declarative sentence. Field piece SRL 8 versus SRL 2. What about the Infocon Whisper ultrasonic leak detector? Now, to me, that's kind of random. You're talking about because I was doing just actual electronic leak detectors, not ultrasonic. And here's the big secret here. In my entire career in HVAC, which spanned 3 different decades, now a fourth, I guess. If I go out on a job, it's going to be a fourth. Back in 1994 all the way to present day, I have never, ever used an ultrasonic leak detector. Now, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing or whatever. I mean, I used the H10 for years. My leak detector chronology goes like this. The first leak detector I bought was a CPS leak detector. It was yellow, it had a silver handle, and it made the weirdest noises you can imagine. I called it R2D2. It was like, whenever you got a leak, and I'm going to do my best here, it goes, okay, that was horrible, but that's exactly what it sounded like. It was ridiculous. I got another one made by CPS that was equally ridiculous. Since then I've used quite a few of them because I work on shop talk. Every now and then manufacturers will send out stuff to test. So I've tested a lot of them a little bit and some of them a whole lot. I mean, I've used the H10G for years and years. And to me, the H10G is still the reigning champion to me of all the leak detectors I've ever used. I've used Testo 316-3, I think it is, which was decent. I like that one. It was pretty good. Infocon Detect Select, I think is pretty good. Infocon TechMate, which is the one I actually still have that one now. My H10G is in little pieces in the back. I just redid my whole shop. I've been redoing it for the last few weeks. The H10G is sitting in like 3 or 4 pieces because I dropped the tip of it into a condenser fan while the condenser fan was running, and bad things happened. So it's been broke ever since. But I did get a chance to use the Pro just a little bit, which is pretty good too. But I like the G. I just like the G. And the TechMate's good, the one I have now, but TechMate's a lot stronger to me on R22 than on HFC's like 410A. It seems like I don't know. There's something about it. It seems a lot better for R22. Okay, let's look at our comments here. Shannon says that's why you should always have the head side gauge hooked up to the liquid line and not the big hot gas line. That way you can see pressure difference during the defrost. That's true, because switching back and forth in defrost, of course, you're cooling and heating lines. For those of you who don't know much about heat pumps, in cooling mode, if you're looking at the liquid line, obviously everybody knows cooling mode because you have air conditioners throughout the country. You have air conditioners throughout the country. Excuse me. Small lines, the liquid line. Large lines, the suction line. Good grief! I'm gonna take some of my drink. I'm about to die. Small line, liquid line, big line, suction line. When you switch it into heating, that big suction line turns into hot gas, and the liquid line remains a liquid line. So if you're not aware of that, I mean, you have 2 gauges out there. You don't have any on the true suction. It's going to look a little strange. It's going to look almost the same, basically. It'll be a little bit of pressure drop from the hot gas line to the liquid line, but you won't get any suction pressure in heating mode if you don't have a gauge on the true suction line. Okay, so I never used an ultrasonic leak detector. I think Shannon has. He can probably say. And Josh Hogan says, I've used one of those. Ha, 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 ha. Okay. I wonder if they're good. I really don't know. I know a lot of guys say they're the best. I don't know. I'm not very good. My ears aren't good. I was in a rock band, as many of you know, so my ears aren't good. So maybe it wouldn't be the one for me. Okay. Going on to the Smart Probe open air test. Basically, I took the 3 sets of Smart Probes, the Testo Gen 2, the field piece, and the UEI hub, all out to the ballpark where I grew up playing Babe Ruth baseball from the ages of 13 to 15. Now, nobody was out there. I got on home plate, and I just saw how far I could go. Okay. The field piece won. We maxed it out at like 400 plus feet. It was impressive. The UEI was second at like 330, 340 feet. And I'm just going off memory here. So it was really good, but just not as good as the field piece. And then Testo, like last place by far. It was just probably about 60 or 70 feet past second base. I mean, it was nowhere near the other 2. So that's what the video was about. It was about seeing how far they would go in open air. unobstructed by metal walls and signals because there was no phones out there. There was no signals of any sort because there was no games. It was out of season. So smart probe open air test. Is it the signal strength? How would this test do if hooked up in outside and the indoor unit was in a basement 40 foot away? I don't care walking in a field. That's wide open. I need the signal to go 2 floors down into a concrete basement with electronics. That's a video I'd watch. This one tells me very little. Well, unfortunately, the video was called open air test. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure he's making a point about, he wished there'd been another video. And there probably is another video. I think there's lots of videos doing smart probes inside a basement. So all you have to do is look around. The point of the video was just to see like the maximum possible distance there. Because to me, that's where the curiosity lies. Which one of these go the farthest in any circumstance? That's what I wanted to know. But he wasn't happy with that, but that's fine. Let's see. T-Lec, our buddy Thomas. Ultrasonic leak detector really worked good on the air mattress leak. Hey, if that's what they're used for, then I'm glad I passed on it. I don't know if that's true. He might be facetious. He might be a jokester. And we have Shannon saying ultrasonics are good. They have their place, but don't always find those micro leaks. I got to find those micro leaks, bro. I'm all about micro leaks. You know me. And Adam High said, in his scenario, it sounds like he may need a repeater probe, i.e. the manifold. And I should have, I don't know if I mentioned this. I don't know if you guys even know. I think I mentioned it on like the Yellow Jacket commercial. I'm not sure. Hey, where is it? Yeah, Yellow Jacket. I'll tell you why I'm wearing this shirt too in a second, because I've never worn this. I've had it for a while. We'll get to that in a second. Now, iManifold has a repeater probe, but Yellow Jacket also has a repeater probe. They have and I haven't tried to hook everything up into like the maximum distance that you can get with a repeater probe. Maybe I should do that. That would probably be a good video. Open air. It will be reviled by many. But it would be cool to see how far it goes with the repeater. I should do that because they're the only ones that I think have a repeater at this point. Someone else will probably come up with one eventually, but that's the only one I know about. And Thomas said, I actually did a video using it on that. Thomas, you make videos? I didn't know that, man. T-Lec, follow him on YouTube, or maybe it's another platform. I don't know. But follow him just in his regular life. Just find out where he's at. Just follow him around. All right, let's go to the next question. That was creepy. Sorry about that. HST Comment Session 5, horizontal discharge condenser. I would like to understand why horizontal discharge condensers like mini splits designs aren't that popular yet. Here is my guess. My guess is they're not that popular because it's harder to get a large coil in a horizontal design, like a large high efficiency coil. What do you guys think about that? Put it in the comments because I want your feedback, because I thought about this. They build them double decker mini splits, which are huge and ugly and horrible. And when you have a horizontal condenser, like an ICP version or a train version, they're huge. They're huge rectangles. To me, that must be the answer why you don't see many more horizontal pieces of equipment. But maybe you guys can help me out with that. All right, let's see. Get some more comments here. We'll call you Dang Son. Ultrasonics work good on new installs if you have to wait for everyone to leave. So I guess you have to have it perfectly quiet. I don't know. Maybe I should try one, but there's no point. It's like, old dog, what's the point of sending me an ultrasonic leak detector unless I'm giving it away? But I will give it away, so like everything else. Adam says, HVAC guys are slow to adopt new designs as well. I think that's true. I think we're hard. We're all using like digital stuff now. Where 10 years ago, it was like digital. We don't need no digital. I got to have analog. Analogs for real men. I don't know what the logic was there, but I was on board with it for a while. I think we just don't like change. I think we hate change and we just don't want it. Now we all have digital. Now there'll be another level of digital now. There'll be ultra digital. And be like, no, I don't like no ultra digital. I got to stick with digital. There'll be something. Thomas Bird says they are coming. I don't know who, maybe the TV people. TV people are coming. Okay, so hello from Charlotte, North Carolina. What's up, Adam Craig? You got 2 first names, man. That's great. All right, so let me talk to you guys for a few minutes about the little job I'm doing. Then we can wrap this shindig up and I go have some beef stew. Thank you, Denty Moore. I love you. If you dip wheat bread into beef stew, it's fantastic. And it's like a home-cooked meal. It was just cooked somewhere else and put in a can. I don't know about that. Okay, so I went out to this house today, and the reason why I'm going to this house is because my brother-in-law had called me out there. He says, I got to move a house. He's moving this 3,000 square foot beast, 2 stories. I'm like, it's like his first venture into this area. So you just stepped off a cliff. So I'll go out there to check it out. And it's two train systems, one 2.5 ton, one 3 ton. They're both split systems. One of them's overhead in the attic. These are both heat pumps as well. One of them's in the crawl space. So everything's got to come out of the crawl space. He's like, can we save the ductwork? I'm like, no. It's a bunch of flex. And the reason why I say no is because when you take out ductwork like that, it's all flex. It's in the South. There's flexes and boxes and stuff like that. So it's just not worth it. It's so labor intensive to try to piece the puzzle back together. It doesn't make any sense. Just get new flex. Okay. The system will be better off. You have R8 flex. It'll be a happy circumstance. Now he's reusing the systems. He wants to reuse the systems. Now here's the question, guys, that will make you go, what? He wants to reuse the systems. They're 13 years old, but they look like they're in fabulous shape. They're train systems. One of them's going to be a TWR, I believe. A TWR is the prefix, I think. And then one of them's one of the builder grades, and I don't remember their prefix. Little slanted fins ones. Like they used to have a Maristar back in the day that had the slanted fins. I don't know if you guys remember what I'm talking about. But there's two of those. He wants to keep them. You know, they look like they're in good condition. I'm not the kind of person, I'm not out in the field enough to go, no, you need to buy new systems. The guy wants to keep them, wants to keep them. He was briefed on the ramifications of those decisions. The ramifications are this. If it has a catastrophic failure, you have two problems. First of all, if you want to fix it, it's going to cost more because it's train. Every part, if you put it in the train unit, becomes more expensive. No matter what it is, it becomes more. It's like a magic spell, guys. You put it in a train unit. You can take a part out of a Goodman unit, just sit it near a train unit. It'll become more expensive. Then you put it back in the good unit, it cheapens back up again. It's really nice. So he's going to run that risk. If it has like a leaking evaporator, now I confirmed there's no power out there, but I confirmed there was refrigerant in it. The standing pressure of the refrigerant was near the outdoor temperature. That really swings wild. That doesn't prove much except for there's refrigerant in there because it's just not exact enough. It doesn't prove anything. So he has to get new ductwork. He has to uninstall, or he's going to rip the ductwork out because I said, you can rip the ductwork out, save yourself some money. Here I am convincing him that I know how to do it. Says you should really do that, man. You could save yourself some money. I think that'd be a great business move. So he's going to rip the ductwork out. I'll take the air handler out because I got to take the copper out and stuff like that. Once he moves the house, it's only going like a mile. This beast, it's going to cost like tens of thousands of dollars to move for 1 mile. He's going to put it back, and then we're going to put the stuff back. And hopefully when it gets fired up again, it's going to start up and run. But, there's two ways I look at this. I got some new tools that people have sent me that I haven't done anything in the field since they all arrived. So I'm like, hey, I get to use these new tools, some of which are, Yellow Jacket. I keep going to the wrong side here. Yellow Jacket. Let's see. Let's answer some questions. Let's go to the questions here. Let's see. Try to come back all the way. All right. Tony Del Greco is going back to our smart probes saying Testo came out with new gauges. Yes, they did. They actually look pretty cool. Not the ones like half a gauge either. Not the ones missing the display. The ones with the display look good. And speaking of Testo, it's like 550X or I or something like that. I think it's X or S or something. I don't remember. It's after the Testo 550s. Tool Pros is here. And I think Brent, the Tool Pro, has a pair of these bad boys. I think. So he can clarify if they're great or awful or what. Excuse me. Sorry. Shannon Knight HVAC, like, I smell like beef. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, man. It's kind of troublesome. You might want to talk to a counselor. T-Lex says, at Dangson, do you use it when performing nitrogen test pressure decay? They're having some side conversation. I'll skip through that. Can you make a video on moving the house? I probably won't be there when they move the house, Luke. I don't really make any more HVAC videos. I mean, I could try to make a video of the HVAC, but I don't really do it anymore because there's so many great channels out there doing great videos. I feel like the pressure's off. I'll just do my interview and stuff and don't bother anybody besides that. But I might make a video like a little bit of the HVAC. And if I'm actually around when they move the house, I will make a video of it. But I don't think I'll probably be there whenever they move it. Let's see. Is it a historical house? No, it was actually built at the time when those units were installed. 13 years ago. So it's a relatively new house. Shannon says the gray train equipment is beautiful. Ted Cook. I don't think Ted Cook invented gray train equipment, I guess. Good job. And Brent says it's the 550S and the 557S. So they had the 3-port and the 4-port then, I guess. All right. Brent says, I've had the 550S and I've used them a total of 1 time. That's pretty good, Brent. And he said, I don't have enough time within to form an opinion, but he will form an opinion eventually and he will move along. So the main thing that I'm looking forward to is to setting these systems and using these tools. Basically, I've been using a lot of tools, but none of them have been HVAC tools. I've been using power tools and stuff. I've been building stuff in the shop and remodeling the shop, but I haven't done a whole lot of HVAC lately, guys, like hands-on HVAC. So I am looking forward to that. That'll be fun. Look forward to breaking out into the battery vacuum pump, which is, I love that thing. It's one of them things where, we get sponsors for the show, but the stuff they have is so awesome. It's like, I'm glad these people are working with me. That battery vacuum pump and that flaring tool from Navac is awesome. It is awesome. I love it. I just got done shooting in like another promo, like advertisement style video, like we play during the shows or before the interviews and stuff. So I'll have to put that up. You guys will see that soon. I know Yellow Jacket's getting some new stuff. They have a new DC vacuum pump, DC motor vacuum pump. They just sent me their new benders that have the metal. Well, they call them shoes. I call them dies, but the little pieces, little half moon pieces, they're called shoes. So they have metal. Was it an alloy? They call it an alloy bender. So they don't have the plastic shoes anymore, which is good because they route out and fall off and stick to the copper and stuff. It's real annoying. So there's some cool products coming up. I want to use those products. But that's not why I'm wearing this shirt. The shirt I'm wearing this, and I'm very proud of this, guys. About a year and a half or two ago, I was quite the porker. I'd put on several pounds and I was up to 278 pounds. I'm 6'3", so it's not as bad if I was 5'3". So I'm 6'3" and almost 280 pounds. So I started going on that keto diet again. I lost pounds. I was down to around 260 something, but it's just a pain in the butt diet. And it was annoying and I hated it and it was awful. So I got this watch. It's a Fitbit watch. My son got it, but he didn't want to use it. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I started using it and I started keeping track of my health, like what food I was eating and stuff, and then how much I worked out. And I realized how sedentary I'd become. So I got moving. So now I walk at least 15,000 steps a day. I try to get 20,000 steps a day. If I'm not, because I'll work outside and you'll get a whole lot of steps. You don't realize how many steps you get just working outside. But a lot of times it's not quite enough. So I'll end up walking around and stuff like that to kind of complement that. So I've gone from that high point of 280 and I'm now down to 242. I was 242. So a lot closer to where I need to be. I feel a ton better. And this is actually an extra large shirt instead of a 2X or 3X, which I had been wearing, and it fits beautifully. So I'm really, really proud of that. Bent says Navac is the bee's knees. They are the bee's knees. And mandrels, the mandrels, I think of those reverse bending mandrels. Those like metal places. They do have a reverse bending mandrel for the Yellow Jacket bender. So you can use it in either orientation. And it's hard to explain that without it being on the screen, but I shot some video of that too for these little promos. So you'll see that coming up on our shows. But they do have the reverse bender, but the little things, they call them shoes. I've heard it called, for some reason, I always thought they were called dies. But I guess I'm wrong. I don't know. Am I the only one who thinks Navac is straight up Chinese manufactured tools? Well, I don't think you're the only one because they are manufactured in China. So I'm pretty sure, yes, they are Chinese tools. So that is, I think that too, because that's logistically true. They are manufactured in China. And so Zach started booting, this is Shannon Knight's comment here. So Zach started booting black tar heroin so he could fit into his old Yellow Jacket shirt. Hey, first of all, the shirt's not old. I've never worn it before. I had to take it out of plastic, put it on. I was probably supposed to give it away to you guys. But I thought to myself, who's better to wear the shirt, some person or me? And me, little angel came up and said, Zach, you should really wear it to celebrate your weight loss. And then there was another angel that said, yeah, he's right. So I put it on. And Old Hannah Luke says, Steve Lab got so thin on that keto diet and got so thin so fast, he looked like he was sick. Well, there can be some rapid loss. I remember when he first started it, he lost like 60 pounds. And I had talked to him on the phone, like during that period. He was doing it, basically is at maximum. He was testing his, I don't want to say ketones and everything. So he was really, I don't know if he's still doing it or not. I haven't talked to him in a while. And I don't get a chance to watch as many YouTube videos as I once did. So I don't know if he's still doing it or not. But yeah, he had lost a ton of weight, which is good because out here in the HVAC field, a lot of us we have some bad health. And for a long time, I thought if I was a technician, I would be in good health because I was always moving around. Then I realized I'm not moving anywhere. I'm sitting in a truck for like an hour, then I'm sitting in front of a unit, then I'm walking to get a tool, then coming back and sitting in front of a unit. So you really don't move all that much. So I guess having the watch really helped me because it gives you the steps and counts them up for you, so you know how much you've been moving. Because I realized like the first few days, it's like, man, I moved like 4,000 steps today. Especially if I'm here in the office and I work the whole time in the office. It's like you don't move anywhere. Like 2 hours can go by where you don't move at all. So I was like, it's been a blessing and it's really opened my eyes. So I think it's a good thing. Adam Craig says, quick question, Zach. Recently troubleshot a bad defrost control board. Someone mentioned that an outside unit can run even though the defrost board doesn't have 24 volts. That's absolutely true. I had that same problem. Geez, I think it was the same unit that was in the video that I referenced earlier. It was a pane unit, and it had lost 24 volts on the R. Like that main 24 volt from the transformer had been lost. And that 24 volts is what passes through those defrost thermostats and goes to the timer. So if you have a Y signal, you can still run the compressor. So you'll have your other signals originating at the air handler. But if you have an issue with the R, the timer won't run, but the unit will run. I saw that with that pane unit. I think a lot of units are like that. So if you have one that just will never go into defrost, you want to make sure that board's getting that R power. It has to make sure the board's getting power because you can have the contactor getting a Y signal. You can have the reversing valve getting an O signal, and the board still doesn't have that R signal going through the thermostat. And of course, there's other stuff like make sure the thermostat's good. And sometimes they're demand defrost, so they'll have sensors, thermistors, instead of these defrost thermostats. So you have to test those and on down the line. But yeah, that absolutely can happen for sure. Your body and mind is your greatest tool. Got to take care of it. Hey, man, you're right on the ball. I mean, you can't buy enough tools that will replace your education and experience. I mean, if you have experience and you buy these tools, I mean, you're unstoppable. But if you're like a brand new guy, a lot of these tools, and we talked about this on one of the shows recently, I think. A lot of these tools, I mean, they're not gonna help you. They're gonna confuse you. I mean, I couldn't imagine being like 2005, 2006 and getting the iManifold. I wouldn't have known what was going on. Like saturated. I didn't know what saturated suction pressure was. I barely knew what superheating and subcooling was, and I was just learning it then because for the first several years I did install, and I was like a zombie. I would just do the job that I'd always done, and we did it well. But when it came to the technical aspects of how the unit performed, I didn't know anything about it. Not for several years. And it took a long time. I mean, I started getting smarter on it probably late 2000s because I was starting to do service work and I was just kind of going through the motions and doing it the best I could, but I wasn't doing it very well. But as time went by, I'd learn stuff and my mind would get open to it and I'd get the proper tools, which I didn't have either. So it was a long-winded story. Shannon Knight says, add on the defrost board and timer is powered by a constant 24 volts. The unit will turn on and off to call to Y. He means Y as in Y1. But you do have to have constant power on R. That's right. And that's what happened. I lost power on R on that particular unit. So it would keep on going. It would just freeze up. It would just continually freeze up. And that was the only thing. For some reason, I think there was a splice in the wire. Because a lot of times you'll see, especially when units are changed out, or maybe someone ran out of wire and you had to splice a wire onto it, which is bad. But, I think everybody's done it before when they've been in a tough spot. And it's just wire nuts go bad. They get corrosive. They get water in them. They start to corrode. The wires, they bend a few times and they actually break off. My favorite ones, the wire nut looks perfect. The wires are going into the wire nut, but it's broken off right where you strip the wire. Because when you strip the wire, instead of going on you're stripping 18 gauge wire, but you lock down on it with like a really small opening on your wire strippers and you put a little indentation all the way around that wire. So when it bends a couple times, snap, and it's snapped off and no one's the wiser. It's let's see here. We have another question. Fee Dizzle. I love your name, Fee Dizzle. Why would a compressor have ohms to ground but no tone to ground? Well, it depends on how many ohms to ground it has. I mean, electricity can pass through a lot of stuff and have ohms, but it might be mega ohms. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to go to ground in a way that you're going to have tone on your meter, it's got to be a pretty low ohm rating. I mean, you could still have a grounded compressor, but it not tone out. Like I had a Heil compressor that I diagnosed as grounded because I had a mega ohm meter and I hooked it up, and of course it showed a really low mega ohms to ground. And knowing that they'll have like sometimes hundreds of mega ohms to ground, this one was below, geez, I think it was 5 kilo ohms, which is 5,000 ohms, which was low enough to cause the issue and trip the breaker, but it would have been way too high to have tone. And Old Handy Luke says heat shrink and solder. Heat shrink and solder is a great idea. And I'll say this, Luke, that is a fantastic idea that no one's going to do in the field, because they're going to be out there in the field and they're going to go, we got to put these two wires together and we're in a tough spot. What are we going to do? And guys going to be like, go get the heat shrink and solder. Another guy's going to be, shut up, go get the wire nuts so we can go home and watch the game or whatever. That's what it's going to be. Great idea. And for some things, especially like sensors, if you don't do heat shrink and solder, they won't read properly. And I learned that actually on YouTube because one of our buddies, I want to say maybe it was Heavy Diesel, which is John from England. He mentioned that. And I want to say maybe him or another gentleman. There's one man that was overseas that mentioned it, made a great point with it, that you have to have a really good wiring connection to carry that data signal. So if you have like a signal like that, which is very sensitive to being, let's see, how do I put this? If you're joining wires together, you need to do it in the best possible way or it'll lose the signal, basically. All right. How's the humidity control with the Bova at your new place? Lonnie, it hasn't been too good. And at the end of the summer, of course, it's fine right now because we're in wintertime. Excuse me. It's wintertime and the humidity in general is lower. But during the late summer and in the season between fall and summer, it was relatively high. We got up into the 60s on a relatively common basis and up near 70 as well. I put the blower speed on 1 and second stage on 3 because I couldn't put it on 2 because it wasn't sufficient airflow for the heat strips. And the heat strips, which are 10 kW, it's a 3-ton system, had to be at least 3, or it would overheat, basically, I guess is the rationale. So I took second stage out for a while altogether and just left it on stage 1, didn't wire anything else, but I didn't want to leave it like that for heating too. So P. Dizzle said, yeah, lost my meter a while back. Well, that is a bummer. I actually ran over my meter one time. It's a true story. And Thomas Bird, how's the electric bill with the Bova? Hey, the electric bill was great. It went down quite a bit. There was a significant difference for what I would have been used to. The house is like 1,800-ish, I think 1,800 square feet or so. 1,800 square feet, 9-foot ceilings, which is a little bit higher than we had before. And the electric bill was down like 50% for the first little while. I haven't checked it lately. I hand my wife money and she pays bills with it. So I'm not quite sure, but I know it had gone down significantly at the very beginning. So we were really happy about that. And this house is pretty energy efficient as well, I think. I assume you hit the dip switch for accelerated mode too. I heard you talk about them anyway. Now for the Bosch, what I was instructed to do by multiple people, including Bosch technical person, is to leave the dip switches in the factory default position and lower the airflow to 300 CFM per ton. And that still wasn't sufficient. I'm actually going to zone the system. I know you guys are like, I got the zoning stuff like 2 or 3 months ago. And I've yet to go up into the attic and actually zone it. So I will do that one day and we'll report back on that. Otherwise, I might have to make some alterations with it to try to address the issue or even get a dehumidifier. It might come to that. Fee Dizzle says, and this is our last one because we're gone to 40 minutes. I'm going to go eat dinner. But I thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you tune in next time. We'll do this every week. So if there are any ohms to ground, would that mean to replace the compressor, have carrier with 2 circuits? One compressor is OL to ground, but the other isn't. It really depends on what the number is. If you're using just a standard meter, you might have to get a mega ohm meter to really tell. If you have like 4,000 kilo ohms, that would explain it. That's not enough resistance from one of the terminals to ground or one of the terminals to the copper piping. But if it's like 3 or 4 mega ohms, then that's definitely enough. That's fine. You need a meter with sufficient scale to read the ohms. And really, I think mega ohm meter is the best way to go. I know a lot of guys say they don't need a mega ohm meter, but I think it's a great thing to have. And it'll give you a little bit of insight when you're in that exact situation. The accelerated mode, and this is Lonnie talking about the Bosch again. The accelerated mode will change target cool to 37, a saturation point in the evaporator is what he's referring to, and really pull humidity before you do all that. Now, I will look back on it because I've heard that too. You can choose between 37 and 47, but I was really instructed to leave it where it was at. So I want to do what they said, but I mean, next summer I'm just going to do whatever I want. I should have bought a ream to set outside so I could change it to ream when I got sick of this, but I didn't. And then Shannon's giving Fee some advice, and yep. Oh, and that's a good point. Shannon says, Fee, there might be a small amount of moisture in the compressor circuit that's not showing. Oh well, that is for sure. If you have like moisture or acid in the compressor, it's going to show bad a lot faster. Because I had one that was showing just awful, and it was just riddled with acid. So that is absolutely true. And I think there's something in the Copeland diagnostics manuals about especially scroll compressors with moisture in them. So you might want to look up something from Emerson for Copeland about troubleshooting compressors that are grounded, and there's probably some good stuff in there. I know I've had the paper before. I have no idea, but I bet if you Google it, you can find it. Google it and put PDF and Google it. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to have some beef stew. Denty Moore is waiting for me. Had a really good time tonight. Let me go ahead and switch this out. There we are. And we'll come back next week and do some more as far as these questions. I just want to, last but not least, I'll say that we're having a hangout on Friday night this week at 8 p.m. on this channel. A hangout is where people come on the screen with me and we talk about whatever. We're going to be talking HVAC, obviously, or really whatever they want to talk about. This is for the supporters of this channel, and basically these supporters, they donate to the channel to help fund the channel each month. So I wanted to give them something that they could really enjoy and bring us all together so we could talk. So that's what I did. It is called Subscribe Star. That's why I called it the Subscribe Star Hangout. If you support me on there, I want to give you an opportunity to come on here. We could have some fun. So that's what we're doing. If you want to help support the channel and join us for this one or the next one we do, you can find all that information in the description. I'm going to leave us today with something we do on Sunday nights. My buddy Justin Beaver, who is an HVAC tech as well, we do a show on Sunday night, which is not HVAC related, it's Bible related. So I'm going to take one of our steps here that we would normally do on Sunday night because we only do one day of devotional a week. I'm going to take a step out of that to put here tonight. And we're going to end with this. This is the February 10th, and this is the Stand Strong devotional, 365 devotionals for men. And I'm going to read the first Bible verse, which is from 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 5. Then he lay down under the bush and fell asleep. All at once, an angel touched him and said, "Get up and eat." And the story that goes along with it is Charles was a hero's hero. He was awarded the Medal of Honor for his bravery when his unit was trapped behind enemy lines during World War I. When the tomb of the unknown soldier was dedicated in 1921, Charles was chosen to serve as a pallbearer for the first soldier laid to rest there. 2 weeks later, he ended his own life by stepping off a cruise ship in the Atlantic Ocean. As happened with Elijah, 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 1 through 7, despair had set in for Charles. People frequently face situations bigger than they can handle. Sometimes it's temporary despair brought on by fatigue, as in Elijah's case. He had experienced a great victory over the prophets of Baal, chapter 18, verses 20 through 40. And I'm sorry if I said Baal or if it's Baal. I'm not sure. But then he feared for his life and ran into the wilderness, chapters 19, verses 1 through 3. Often, though, it's more than despair, and it's more than temporary. God offers his presence to us in life's darkest moments. When you feel down, cry out for help from others and from God. Perhaps he is preparing you for the strongest moment of your life. Guys, I appreciate you joining me today, and I hope you join me again next week for our comment session. If you want to add anything as far as comments that we can discuss, wait till this video is over and put them in the actual comment section, not the live chat. Wait till the video is over and you can come back and put them right there below the video in the comment section. I will talk about it next week. So I hope you guys work safe, and I'll see you on the next one.